Happy Friday, and here's another session of the Front Porch, and I'll tell you what, we got some more of that high feminine energy today. Today we have Moira. How you doing, Moira?
I'm doing great.
And Moira's from Ragged Maggie. She's an incredible singer, and I'll tell you what, the first time I heard her perform, I was just like totally blown away. I'm just such a pleasure to have her here on the Front Porch. So, are you originally from Maryland?
I am. I grew up in Bowie, Maryland, which is very similar, probably very similar to Frederick now, because it started kind of a small town feel, bedroom community, and it just kind of exploded.
Right,
which a lot of our Frederick friends can tell you, Frederick doesn't look like it used to, and that's kind of Bowie. So that's PG County.
Right.
And very similar to this area as well, because lots of great musicians.
Wow, that's one thing I noticed.
Lots of great musicians.
I noticed when we moved up here to Frederick, we used to live down in Germantown, and when we moved up here to Frederick area, wow, just such a concentration of musicians in this area.
Incredible musicians here.
And then just working your way towards Baltimore just even gets more concentrated, It's just really wild. And I came here from San Antonio, and San Antonio...
Texas boy.
Yeah, there were a lot of country people, that did singing, but they were few and far apart, and you'd think there would be more.
My dad's a Texas boy.
Oh, good.
Well, my dad's passed away, but he grew up in Texas. Wink,
Texas, yeah.
Grew up with Roy Orbison and Gary Busey.
That's awesome. That's a cool little factoid there. Yeah. That's sweet. So how long have you been performing, Moira?
Well, professionally, only since I turned 40.
Wow.
So for all you people out there who think that, I'm too old, well, you're not. So my first solo was when I was 10. But, I just always loved music. I studied opera in the early 90s. Not wanting to sing opera, cool. But I wanted to sing rock. But my opera coach, vocal coach, said, if you can sing opera, you can sing anything.
Right.
And opera teaches you how to take care of your voice.
Jeff Tate from Queensryche was an opera singer. And, he has such a unique and powerful voice, when you hear Queensryche sing. And I didn't know that, until just recently, that he was actually an opera singer. So I can see where that can really cross over into the other genres.
It was not my plan, but I am grateful that I studied opera, because it improved my range and it protects your voice.
Yeah.
So it gives you longevity.
Right.
And it teaches you where to go. So if you're listening to a song, it teaches you where to go. So I did all of that and didn't, I was married, raising kids. And finally one day I'm just like, you know what? I want to be in a band. And my husband's like, do it. And I'm like, I don't know. And I auditioned, and I've been in several basement projects. I should, my little caveat, that just never left the basement.
Right.
But it was still a good training ground.
Right.
And I found my voice by doing that.
Right.
And so by the time I was ready for a band, I was 40 years old.
There's nothing wrong with that,
No, I mean, I just thought, you know what? I loved my 40s. I'm 57 now, and there's nothing you can't do.
Wow, you certainly don't look like you're 57. You look very young for your age.
Thank you.
So, we all start out somehow, and I actually took a sabbatical for 20 years from playing because of life, the life things.
Yeah.
When we're in our 30s and coming into our 40s, we're taking care of other responsibilities like family stuff, working all the time to support our
full-time job,
our lifestyle,
yeah.
So it's not so easy to play music, as it is when we're first starting out, when we're super young. And then when we get into middle age, we're a little more settled and we can get back into it again, Yeah. So that's awesome to hear that,
Well, and the thing, as I found when I was in a band, because it was my creative outlet, it made me a better mother and a better wife and a better friend, because I was happy.
Right.
Not that I wasn't happy with those other things. I truly was and am. but there was a piece missing.
Right.
And to be able to have that creative outlet just made everything else better.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you feel that little creative square in there, things get a little bit better. You know,
Yeah,
you just
it
work
absolutely
up a notch.
100% did.
So do you remember what inspired you to want to perform? I mean, you know, there's a lot of people out there that, you know, they'll have like an artist or a friend or, you know, a teacher. You know, what was your influence to want to get up there and sing?
Well, I have a theater background, so I was in plays throughout, you know, high school and loved performing. And we didn't have we had a really good theater department. So we played at the Folger Theater and did competition, and I loved being on stage. And to me, it was an easy transition to go from theater and doing Othello and Dyer Van Frank, which is where I didn't meet my husband, but we spent a lot of time on stage together and started dating after that. But when you do theater, music and you love music, it's a natural extension because every song is a story. And when you get up there and you're performing for a crowd, you better understand the story.
Right.
Because you have to sell it and you have to feel it. And so to me, theater, music, that was a natural progression because I love theater. I grew up with very musical, you know, theater going parents. And so to me, that was, you know, very natural progression was to go into music, you know, and finding my voice. Like, can I sing? Okay, I can sing. So let me see where I can take that. Right.
That evolution process starts kicking in, you know.
Because I love all music. You'd be shocked. I mean, I love all genres. So
yeah, I think most people that play music, you know, they're not really closed-minded where I'm only going to stick to this genre, you know, but we have our preferences, but we all love all different genres of music, you know, for the most part.
And truthfully, some of my inspiration wasn't as much the lead singers, though I love, you know, Ann Wilson. And I mean, I could tell you just a laundry list of people that inspired me, but I always wanted to be a backup singer.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Because they were just like doing their moves.
Yeah, the doo-wop thing.
And when you hear some of the famous, you know, you have, I guess it's Mary Clayton, who does that incredible backing vocals on Gimme Shelter, where her voice actually breaks because she's singing with such passion and such energy.
Oh, yeah, that is.
And then you've got Claire, and now her name escapes me, you know, Great Gig in the Sky.
Yeah,
and that iconic, I mean, just absolutely iconic vocalization she was doing. To me, that was because they were adding this special ingredient to the music, and I just thought, front person is not easy and certainly challenging and all that, but to add that layer, you know, and they were really showing me something with their instruments, that vocals are instruments. You know, your voice is an instrument too.
Right.
So that was absolutely 100%. Hearing that, growing up, listening to that, I was like, that's it for me.
So do you remember what the name of the first band or group you were in that you actually sang?
The first band that actually, the first band that actually left the basement or the living room or wherever was my band On Kilter, which is a local band.
On Kilter.
And I played, we played around here. I played with absolutely amazing. I learned so much from them. Lois and Tom McDuffie, who now play with the Jangle Box, which is very 60s.
That sounds cool.
They are amazing. They have a sellout crowd, incredible musicians. They taught me a lot just because they just made it seem easy, which I know it's not.
Right.
But their vocals, their husband and wife, their harmonies together, and I think they're natural. They've also got their band, the McDuffies, which is more country, but their professionalism, their just effortless sound, and the way that, you know, I was the front person, and yet they just kind of we all just melded together, and we just had some, oh my God, incredible harmonies together. And my friend Bryce was the lead guitarist, and he was just great. And it was just so nice to be with this group of people who could really play music, and there was no drama.
Right.
No drama.
Wow.
So yeah, they were fantastic. And that was my first time really getting on the stage.
Right.
Was with these other seasoned musicians. And Mark Blanc, who played with Voodoo, he was our second drummer. So I played with him in On Kilter for, I think it was 3 years.
I almost became the bass player for Voodoo, you know, and Mark and I I went down there
Great
for
drummer.
the audition, you know, and it was just that close, you know. But I had a lot of commitments with Huckleberry Hooch at the time.
I remember.
And so it was going to create too much of a conflict. And I think that's why, you know, I decided, you know, maybe it would just be better to just back off and just stay with the Hooch.
Yeah.
You know, but it was close. It was that close.
Yeah.
And Mark, I really liked him a lot because
Yes.
he was kind of a really structured kind of guy. You know, he knew what he wanted. He knew where he wanted to go, and he knew how to get where he wanted to
100%.
go. You know, so I really appreciated that about him, you know, and especially being a drummer.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see too many drummers that get involved in processes outside of just drumming, you know.
Yep. Yep.
So he was really kind of the organizer, kind of the leader per se, I guess.
Yes.
At the time, you know, to get things done, and I really appreciated that about him. So that's cool, you know.
Yep.
So you were with Mark Blanc. That's cool.
He joined
right?
our band after our other drummer left. So I think it was about 3 years with Mark. You know, we've been friends ever since, and yeah, great drummer. Again, just such a. It was my first real opportunity getting in front of crowds and learning who I was. Getting myself comfortable, and you know, not just. You know, you always have to get used to your bandmates, and you have to get along with them and have a vibe with them. But then you're vibing with the crowd and just learning who am I in front of this crowd, and like, you know, and just getting very comfortable in your own skin.
Right.
So that was great. That was really fun.
Yeah. So, do you play any musical
I
instruments?
play the flute.
The flute. That's right.
Which is really hard to
telling me about
when you're
that.
playing the flute. But yeah, in On Kilter we did. I brought out a couple times because we did Stairway to Heaven. So Lois had the recorder, which I think in the actual recording, I think it is recorders. I think. I don't know if there's a flute involved. I hear differing things on that. But we did that, and then we did I'm Your Captain.
Oh,
and I got to just jam at the end.
That's
like
cool,
trading
man.
with the guitar. You know, I got my notes, so I'm just gonna have fun with this, and I love it.
It's kind of like Ian Anderson, you know. Ian Anderson, man, that guy was like rocking the flute all the time, you know, back in the 70s, and he had such a unique characteristics. Yeah, very powerful.
The playing the flute definitely builds up your lung capacity.
Right.
So that helps with your singing. But yeah, I'm waiting for Ragged Maggie to break out a song
cool.
like, come on, Jimmy.
That would blow me away, man.
I got my
all of a
flute
sudden
ready,
you
even
just,
have a little
picked
flute
it up
stand.
and then joined him with the guitar solo, just rocking the flute.
I would love
That
it.
would be so
I would love it. So
man.
I'd always wanted to play the flute, and you know, I, of course, learned classical music. So I was playing the flute when I was in, all the way from junior high school through college.
Yeah.
You know, and I was playing. I look at notes that I used to play. I was like, whoa.
I know, isn't that crazy? I used to play the trumpet, you know, when I was in junior high school and into high school before I became a percussionist, and then picked up the bass. So, I think as kids we try to figure out where it is we want to be, you know, and the trumpet seemed kind of cool at the time. Oh, good Lord. I don't even think I have an embouchure anymore. I think I put it up there and sound like probably a duck on its last throes of life, you know. I don't think it sounds very good.
I still play the flute. I don't pick it up as much as I should, but I keep on top of it.
Yeah.
I love the sound.
But, you know, the band instruments, that was a really great way of just kind of cutting your teeth and getting into the music scene, you know, just through school, and then deciding, you know, as you evolve through it, what direction you want to go with that music, you know.
Yeah.
And we talked to Chris Murray, you know, he said he played the trumpet, you know.
Oh, I remember him saying that.
So, you know, a lot of guys I think started with band instruments when they were kids, and then they just worked their way up. So that's pretty cool. So do you do any songwriting or?
Yes. I do a lot of songwriting.
That's awesome.
I had my CD to bring to you, but my good friend Brian Verts, he was in one of my basement bands, and we looked at each other and we're like, I don't think this is working, but, you know, and we were, you know, in some project together. And then this is going back to 2007. We were just talking, and we were just talking about our musical influences.
Right.
And I grew up on Peter, Paul, and Mary, and the Stones, and like a very diverse.
Right.
Yeah, Bob Dylan, and Carole King, Joni Mitchell.
Right.
Gordon Lightfoot, huge influence. So I'd always wanted to, I'd always had these things that I wanted to write. So I started, I was writing down lyrics, and it goes through a season. Sometimes you're inspired to write and sometimes you don't have anything. And that's just the way it is.
Right.
And I was writing, and he is a very versatile. He's a rock guitarist, but he also is incredible blues, but he's very adaptable.
Right.
And we're like, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, let's work on something.
That's cool,
and our very first song, you can still find it on Reverb Nation, but was Slipping Away. And I wrote this song, and we dedicated in 11 months we wrote, recorded, and then performed at the Frederick Musical, the Festival of the Arts.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, because one of the women who worked for the paper heard about us, and she's like, "Do you wanna perform at the festival?" And we're like, "Sure." And she's like, "You have to have all originals." And we're like, and we had one original at the time. I'm like, "We can do it." So we ended up making 11 songs, 11 originals. Except for
that's a lot of
one,
work.
we did a different take on Amazing Grace. So it. Not an original, but a cover that was original to us.
Coming up with 11.
It was an incredible experience. And just this going back to 2007, I would write I would have my lyrics, and then I would sing into a little MP3, record, send the file, and then he would listen to it, and he would put what he thought he would some structure with the guitar, and then I'd meet together with him live, and I'd either be thumbs up or thumbs down, or we'd tweak it, or I think you need to be playing a third above me, and we'd figure it out, and we hashed it out in 11 months, and I had my CD. I still write. Jimmy and I have been meaning to, just lock in some time to write.
Right.
But it was an absolutely incredible experience and then to perform it, and to have people come up and want your music or sing along.
Right.
And know the words. And my old drummer, who's he's passed away since then, but he called me up and he said, "I'm not a crying guy, but your song Slipping Away made me cry." And he's like, "It reminded me, I thought you were talking about my grandmother." And I was like, wow, this song was about mental illness.
Right.
But and losing someone.
Right.
But I said the fact that he could be touched and moved by something that I'm like, okay, the song doesn't even belong to me anymore. It belongs to, it's whatever you need it to be.
Whoever connects with it.
And he connected with it. And, and I'm like, that was wonderful. So,
well, like you said before, music is a story. It's a way of articulating a story. And so if the story resonates with the person, that's really where it's all about.
That just, I think about that still. And, I have songs that I haven't even recorded yet. That I'm thinking, why didn't I record that yet? But, Brian and I, we had our run, and we played out for 3 years, and then, we moved on to different things, and he got back into blues and rock, and even, and, I went through another run of basement bands before I joined Ragged Maggie, so we didn't really get back into it again.
Right.
But, I see him every now and then. I'm like, we should record those songs that we never recorded.
Right. So, yeah. Well, I'm doing some songwriting, as you're aware of. And, you said, you talked about Jimmy Rickard, I would really think that'd be awesome to be able to collaborate with him in creating a project.
We started some things, and, with COVID time, it's everything runs together. And then we just got really busy.
Right.
So, but I love collaborating with people. Freddie Long, local musician.
Oh yeah, I love that guy.
On one of his albums, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, because I had to do learn 4 harmony parts. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not this good. And incredible musician, absolutely incredible, incredible voice. And that was really, really challenging. But I love making someone else's vision come alive.
That's cool.
Going back to the backup singer, girl of my dreams, that's kind of where that comes from, is what can I add to make somebody else's?
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's why I was thinking of you when I was writing.
We'll do it.
Oh man, Moira, she would really help bring this song alive.
We'll do it. Let's do it.
Heck yeah, let's do this.
I love that.
So we talked about some of your influences. You know, you mentioned Ann Wilson and
the backup singers.
The backup singers. You know, Trisha Yearwood actually started out as a backup singer.
Oh yeah. I will say, to me, anybody who can make a song come alive. So that's why I have such a diverse, Steve Perry.
Wow, yeah, you want to talk about a powerhouse.
Gosh. His influence was Sam Cooke. I mean, the late, great Amy Winehouse.
Right.
What a voice. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
She was one of those people that just made it seem effortless. I mean, I watched this video of her just singing in a record store. And, she's looking at her nails and and all of a sudden she just opens her voice and it's this big voice. And she's got, just her phrasing. And it's all about the phrasing.
Right.
Where you're like, you just feel like someone's telling a story and you're just being taken along in this river. And her voice, I don't know if you know Eva Cassidy.
No, I haven't heard of
her
Eva
up.
Cassidy.
I know our friend Jay King knows her. Incredible. You probably heard her music. She does a cover of Fields of Gold, Sting's Fields of Gold.
Right.
Summer Over the Rainbow is iconic. She was a Bowie girl.
Oh, okay.
Passed away. She was very young from skin cancer, but she used to play at the Bayou and in DC. Has now a posthumous gigantic following.
Wow.
But just anyone who can sing that passion and just make the words come alive, where you just feel.
Right.
So I would say Eva Cassidy, Amy Winehouse, Etta James, Nina Simone, Pat Benatar, Ann Wilson, Steve Perry, like Robert Plant. I mean, just all of it.
Yeah, all those performers are really good at storytelling with music.
Storytelling and just the depth of
they actually, you can actually feel them living the words, you know, when they're performing, it's
that's what
like,
moves me.
Yeah, when they're living the words, when they use body gestures and language when they're singing. And I know you do that too. And that's one of the things I really notice about you. I observe how people move on stage. I really wish I could move well on stage. I'm just back there. Yeah.
Well, to me, it's like incorporating the song and the music and the words and then just getting lost in them.
Right, and just living them in front of the mic, where you're just...
And that's where I go. And if I can't go there, then it's not the right song.
Yeah, just reaching deep inside your soul to just articulate it, push it out there,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm just like, I'll watch videos and I'm like, but I just go to a different place.
Right.
When I'm singing.
I know.
And I really get inside. I try to, but I get inside the song, and it doesn't matter what song it is. If you understand what's being said or if it reaches you, then you try to bring the audience
that
there.
really connects with people big time. Because when people are watching you and they're seeing you just really just digging deep to put it out there, they're connecting with you on a much higher level.
I feel that.
Yeah, you're going to get that energy from them.
I feel that.
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about that last week. Keith and I were talking about, and Razzle and I actually talked about that as well, is how the energy of the crowd, if you're resonating with them, it's just going to reflect back onto you. And then you're just going to feed off of that,
It makes all of you better. You make us better.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, they do.
It does. I just remember there was a show maybe with like 4 people with my old band. It was a bad night to have. And I just remember singing this one song and this woman just started just crying. She's just like, I think it was, we were singing Joplin. I want to say that.
Right.
But she was just like, wow. She's just like that song, and I didn't know what the story was. She didn't go into it, but it resonated with her.
Right.
And when you resonate with people, if it's one or if it's a crowd, we prefer a crowd.
Right.
But that just makes everything bigger and better.
But we're talking about that too. If there's one person there or 1,000 people there, we're still going to reach out to that single person and try to connect with them. Yeah. Just 100%. As powerful as if it was 1,000.
Yeah.
I think that's
the nature of the art.
Yeah, that's ingrained
it's like
us
you
as
don't discount one
performers.
person.
Right.
You know, it's like they're, you know, you're all a part of it.
Right, absolutely. So, any weird moments on stage?
Oh my gosh, we laugh about these.
I love to ask people this question. Keith last week talked about how they carried a toilet around with them and put it on stage with tiki torches.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
With me, it's more about, probably some of them I can't share, but just interactions with people. I mean, you'll be singing and people will be talking to you. And I had one show I was doing where this woman, I'm singing. And the woman's just like, you're so good. You're so good. And she's just like, I just got a divorce from my husband, and this is what I need. She's like, she's talking. And that's
coming out the mains along with your vocals. And Tom, our bass
player, he's standing next to me, and he's just like, we're just, yeah. You know, it's like, and when they start to laugh, you know, it's like it's really hard to keep your composure. I think it's most of the time for me, it's when people are talking to me. And if there's no stage and they're right there and they're talking to you and you're just trying to like look somewhere like past them so that you can remain focused, either just not engage or not laugh. And those, I mean, we laugh about them. There's other times where I handed out my tambourine because it's a party. Like, hey, I got a tambourine. You got a tambourine? And I was like, bludgeoned. We were like, and I'm just like, wow, there's a rhythm to the tambourine too. I mean, just we laugh about it, but you know, sometimes when things get crazy, I mean, I look back at them and laugh. As long as everyone's safe, we're good. But it's really those really wild interactions where you're just like trying to keep your composure, but at the same time you're looking at, you know, your band and it's like,
what's going on?
What do we do?
Yeah.
So yeah, and every show's different.
Yeah. Well, you know, when there's alcohol involved, you know, you have people that'll actually end up migrating onto your performance area, your stage, you know.
We've got some backup singers.
Right, yeah. Well, I actually had a guy spill beer all over my pedals once, you know, and then turned my power strip off. No. Bass just dropped right out in the middle of a song, you know. And Dave O'Connell was doing our sound, and he was lightning fast. He went up and put the switch and got that guy off the stage.
Oh my God.
But it was just really crazy, you know, how they just show up out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah, and I don't drink when I'm playing because, one, there's very few things you can have when you're singing. You can have like you can have like a sweet white wine, you can have a little bit of bourbon, you can have port.
Right.
But, you know, everything a minimum. You can't be doing the fireballs and all that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But I think of one funny incident was, this was years ago with On Kilter. We were playing at, I think it's called the Firehouse Q. I don't know if it's there anymore. It's Gaithersburg. We were opening up for Funny Money, which is Steve Whiteman.
Oh, yeah. And
I'm like, we're playing like 60s and blues and rock. And I'm like, okay. So we ended up opening up for them. Super nice. They were so nice. But we're like doing our, like, we got to use all their equipment, which was unbelievable equipment.
Right.
Really nice. And the guy working the soundboard was a vocalist. So I sounded amazing. I mean, he really made me sound good. And so we're just doing all this. And then the fire alarm goes off. We're like, what the? We all go outside. We're waiting there for like, it was over an hour. We go back in, everybody's like, the coast is clear. And they were freaking out because they had very expensive equipment, but they had to leave inside. Yeah. So we ended up doing like a set and a half, I think, as an opening. And surprisingly, Funny Money really liked us. And they were like really, you know, resonating. But I cannot even tell you how hot it was on that stage.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It was all their lights.
The par lights. Oh, man.
I turned around and looked at our drummer and he had his shirt off and he was just shiny. and this guy looked at me and I'm like, my hair is just like soaked. I'm like, why is it just hotter than hell right now?
Right.
And people were bringing me beer and like, you know, and then we find out that the reason the fire alarm was because the air conditioner was dead, had burned. So that's why it was so hot in there. Oh, so there was no air conditioning, you know, and I'm just like, my hair was just like plastered to my head, but I'm just like rock and roll. But that was just a really strange, I mean, I still laugh about that because it was just, I mean, really funny. But, you know, then we found like, so that's why there was fire. It's because there's no air conditioning. But yeah, fun stuff happens.
Highs and lows. Let's talk about some highs and lows. I know a lot of us go through that. The creative mentality involves a lot of emotion sometimes, and I know we have our highs and our lows when we're out there trying to get through performing. So any of those you want to share?
Highs. I guess every time I perform or get a chance to perform, so that's in one big category. I'm joining Ragged Maggie. I had quit bands. I was like, I'm done. I was in a band that we started to play out, but then some of the people in the band were having like some issues, like personal issues. I'm like, you know what? I'm a wife. I'm a mother. If this isn't gonna happen, then I need to refocus my time.
Right.
I just need. So dropped out of that it was like a year. And then one morning I woke up and everyone's like, oh, this band, Ragged Maggie's looking for a singer. You'd be great. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Whatever. No, you'd be great. So I'm like, look, and I had all these, and one of my friend Chris, he contacted Jimmy and a couple other people did. And next thing I know, I'm Jimmy there talking. I'm like, I still was like, no, I think I'm done. And I knew who Jimmy and John were.
Right.
And I knew from Everrise, I knew how talented they were. And I'm just like, you always have that little self-doubt creeping in. Like, do I really want to put myself out there again and be exposed? And like, Moira, you really got to be good to be with these guys, to be with this band.
Yeah.
You got to bring your A game. And I was like, am I ready? Do I have that time commitment?
Right.
And my husband is always just really encouraging. He's like, yeah, just do it. Just go to the audition.
Right.
So I did that. And
I love Bob. He's a great guy, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's so cool, man.
He's very encouraging. And I would say 3 to 4 songs in, when I auditioned, they were like, you want to do this? And I'm like, I do.
That's
and so
cool.
That was in 2017. So we've been together. But lows, I would say maybe 3 weeks in.
Right.
Probably had started before that. But, their singer at the time was leaving, so they needed somebody for the overlap.
Right.
And Jimmy's like, hey, can you fill in for this play in 2 weeks? And in my mind, I'm like, no. But then I'm like, I say the words yes come out. So I learned their songs and as much as I could. And Kyle from Everrise, he ended up splitting the night with me. But I
that's
noticed,
cool.
It was very cool. But I noticed that I'd started like notes, like, because, I studied opera. I mean, there's notes that I can get that are up there and they're not hard.
Right.
And I was noticing that there was more effort being put in them. And I'd be in rehearsal with the guys and I would just be like, my voice would break. I mean, things were happening to my voice. I'm like, what is going on? And I was like, I would go home from rehearsals being like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something is really wrong. And, it came to one rehearsal where I was just like, we were like, oh, let's just do these songs. And I was losing my confidence.
Yeah, I think that's what it is confidence.
There was something really wrong. And then it was exacerbated by the fact that I no longer felt comfortable even trying.
Right.
And I just remember going home and sitting down like on the steps and I was in tears and I was sitting next to my daughter and she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't think I can sing. I think I'm losing my voice.
Yeah.
And I was about ready to contact Jimmy and John and say, I think I can't do this.
Just going into like a mini funk, huh?
Mini funk. And I went to an ENT, an amazing one, Dr. Yoon here in Frederick. And he did oh my gosh, if you've ever had it done, they snake like a camera up your nose and down. Yeah. It is unreal.
I've actually had that.
It's
I know what you're talking about.
And he was like, well, the good news is you don't have notes. Bad news is you have really bad acid reflux. And it's really, your vocal cords are so swollen.
Right.
He's like, you're like a 9 out of 10 right now.
I'm no.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what? He goes, what are you drinking? And I'm like, I don't know. He goes, you drink coffee? I'm like, I mean, some, not a lot. And he's like, what else are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm trying to be like really fit. And so I'm drinking these energy drinks. And he's like, what energy drinks? I'm like, oh, not like Monster or like Red Bull, but like this one that has B12 in it. And he goes, stop.
Right.
That's the worst thing you can possibly do for your voice. And so he's like, how badly do you want your voice to come back? And I'm like, with everything I am. And he's like, cut out caffeine. cut out spicy foods. He went through chocolate, dairy, like things that I knew and things that he didn't know.
Right.
And he says, the more you cut out, the faster your voice will come back. And I did it.
Oh, wow.
And I, took all these supplements, which I'm going to share with you because they will get you through pollen season.
I know.
I took all of that, and I would say my voice came back stronger than ever within 8 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's good.
And he looked back and he's like, yeah, you're healing.
Good.
But it's a constant, at my age and really any age, you that's your instrument and you have to protect it. And the bees, I love you, but you're not my friend right now.
I know.
This is beautiful, but spring is like a very hard time to sing.
It is a hard time to sing. I found that out last week at our rehearsal, and I was trying to sing. I sing in a higher range, for a big guy and a guy that plays bass. Yeah. I'm like Jay, Jay Austin King,
Excellent voice.
Yeah, we're tall guys. We play bass and we sing high, and it's really. Yeah.
Right. I want to hear your high notes.
Oh, no, I'm not even going to try today because I am just like
I'll get you through that.
Up,
I will get you through that.
Oh, good. See, I got a vocal coach.
Yeah, I got my little...
Sweet.
Oh, they laugh. I mean, you'll see me, and Kyle, and, a bunch of people, they all, my Chinese... It's Chinese syrup.
Yeah.
And it's got all these natural ingredients in it, and it soothes and heals. And
well, that's
I'll give you my laundry list of what you take
during the
season.
We'll put Moira's remedy list in our links down below where we put the information in. And so if anybody's out there that wants to sing or struggling with singing, we can use Moira's recipe.
And I do. I share with all my, I'm a Big Tent person. And, I love Christy and Kyle and,
right.
John Coghill and all these amazing,
right.
Martin and Dominique and everyone. I mean, so many amazing vocalists that are in my musical family. And I'm share the wealth. And we all struggle at this time of year. And I will absolutely get you all the supplements that you need to get through the season.
Excellent. And, we'll make a list and we'll put it in the YouTube channel in the bottom. And then when you click on more, we'll have that in there so you can check it out. Moira's Remedies.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Hey, thanks for joining us today. And, of course, we always have to mention my wife, Michelle, and her wonderful baking. And today she baked some gluten-free cakes.
What you can't see is the discarded. It's already been eaten.
Yeah, they are good.
Really good.
But Moira wanted gluten-free. She's watching her diet and her eating habits, and we were able to take care of that by getting a nice gluten-free cake made for her.
And Michelle was so good.
Yeah, Michelle. So if you want to get on the front porch and get some of these wonderful goodies, just let Michelle know. We got a couple of people scheduled to come on the front porch. Reach out to Michelle. Let her know what you want for these goodies, and she'll make them for you. And we really like to just kind of chill and have a nice little snack with our coffee, and it brings out the conversation, And so reach out to Michelle. Let her know what you want. I mean, anybody can be on the front porch. I mean, it doesn't matter if I meet you in the grocery store, down at Sheetz, getting a Subway sandwich. Just let me know, and we can get you on the front porch and really talk about life. Things that we're really concerned about. And I really appreciate you joining us today. We'll get you back to the interview. Thanks. So I know you do creative work. You made this beautiful bracelet for Michelle out of repurposed things that you have found things.
Found things, yes. I'm all about the upcycle.
I really like that. I like repurposing old things, instead of throwing things away,
Yeah, I mean, there's beautiful things, and it's about looking at things in a new way. So I actually started that, that theme years ago. I'm probably going back to 2010 when I was just in an antique store and I was looking at these objects in a case, and I'm like, what is that? The woman said it's a button cover, and it was from the 40s.
Right.
And it was just this absolutely beautiful sterling silver. I can't even remember what the actual design was, but it was unique. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I didn't even know what a button cover was. And she's like, oh, you would slip it over a button and that was your jewelry. And I'm like, well, what do people do now? And she's like, I don't know. They don't really use them. And I'm like, and they're small. I'm
right.
Like, wow, that would make a great centerpiece for a ring.
Right.
So I started acquiring button covers. and making rings from
That
button
is
covers.
so cool.
And then that expanded because when you think button, you think ordinary.
Right.
I started, going to antique stores and finding really, like the buttons used to be works of art. They'd be made with steel cut and, some of the 1800s steel cut buttons.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
of them had pictures on them. I found one of the goddess Athena.
Oh,
and it was like
wow.
a puzzle piece, and I made that one into a ring.
That is so cool.
Then I started working with check glass, where they have actually the hook is glass. So I
Yeah.
had to figure in my mind, well, how do you mount this when you've got a big hook? It's not going to lie flat.
Right.
And then it came into my mind, well, use washers because they've got a hole. So you could just build up the base and then you can mount them on. So that opened up a whole other thing. And then finding coins that had the holes in them and using coins.
Oh, wow.
So I made rings
yeah.
for I made them every 5 years. And then I started getting into making like the cuffs using like old leather belts.
Right.
And then findings, like whatever. I use a lot of like belt buckles. Like some of the
Right.
very old ones. A lot of the ones that I have, Michelle has
It's in a shoe buckle, right? An old shoe buckle.
shoe buckles, old shoe buckles. Most of them are made in France, in Paris.
Right.
So I think Michelle's it's over 100 years old.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I love doing that. I've made them for a few of my musician friends. I
That is
wear them.
so
I'm not wearing
cool.
any today, but just another creative outlet, fun.
You
I
know,
love upcycling. I love looking at things and finding a new vision for them.
it's so cool to see people that do music and then they also have, some type of artistic outlet, other than music. And
I can't draw.
I think they go hand in
I
hand.
can't draw, so that's like.
I know your son can draw, though.
My
my
son-
goodness, the guy is
Oh my
incredible.
gosh! I'm like, he got it from my husband because my husband's a good artist. Because I'm like, how do you draw a horse? I'm like, it's just like I can draw certain things, but I'm not. That's not
Right.
where how my mind works. And
Right.
and I see what you can do, and my son, and like everybody in my family can draw. Not me.
Well, you found another creative outlet that you're
I
good
did.
at.
I'm like,
and
so
it's
that's my contribution.
taking old things and making them new again. That's
I love it. All you have to do is go into like Goodwill and you're just like, why was this ever made? And just so many things.
right.
So the idea of, I don't get too crazy on it, but like upcycling and repurposing,
Yeah.
I really believe in that.
That's really cool. I like doing this stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually doing it with guitars and like taking old
Wow.
guitars and
That's amazing.
giving them a second life.
Do you have like a stable of things you're ready to work with?
Not really. I've just started doing this stuff, but I've got these gears inside here just spinning around, ready to go. So I think we're gonna hit some pawn shops this summer.
Oh gosh, that'd be fun.
Find some old neglected guitars and give them a second life.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'll find a lot out
And
there.
I really think that's my mission this summer.
Well, the hunt's so fun too.
It is. It's a blast.
I love just like, going into a new place and just looking to see what they have.
It
And
is.
like, and it I think one creative thing fuels other creative things.
Right.
And it really does keep your mind active. And I think it all works together. For
So
sure.
do you sell your creative work?
I do. Just very low key. I tried the whole Etsy thing. I've done shows. And shows are great because you connect with people, but it's a lot of work.
I know.
So now it's just kind of like,
is.
when I make something fun, then I just kind of put it out there. I'll put it all on social media. And if it resonates with somebody,
Right.
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 Do you want to buy it?
One of the things I've discovered with mainly my artwork is the best form of selling is just word of mouth. You know?
Yes. Oh,
Somebody
yeah,
that
definitely.
I did work for, they will show it to somebody else or they'll tell
And then
somebody
you'll get
else
a
about it.
commission.
Right, and then they'll get in touch with me and want me to do it for them, and then they'll do the same thing. And it just kind of dominoes on you,
Yeah.
So,
And as long as it keeps it fun, because sometimes it gets, it's like when, songwriters say, oh, the company wants me to put out another album and you're not ready to mentally. So you have to
Right.
keep that balance where you're keeping it fun and creative, but it's not becoming a task.
right.
Yeah.
And getting back to the music, you're only in one band, right?
Yes. I'm in
And
Ragged
that's
Maggie.
Ragged Maggie. And I'll tell you what, that is a powerhouse band. That you got Jimmy Rickard on guitar, you got John Wample on the bass, and who's playing the drums?
You got Rick McDougal.
Rick,
also,
that's right.
He's playing for us, and he plays in the amazing Katanga as well.
Right, that's
so
right.
We are so fortunate.
Yeah,
so
that's
fortunate.
right. And man, I'll tell you, you've got 4 spectacular musicians together at Ragged Maggie. Now, I saw the original Ragged Maggie years ago, and it really kind of blew me away because I'd seen Ever Rise, I think just the month before. And then I was at Cactus Flats, and I saw a Ragged Maggie playing there, and I was like, wait a minute. Those guys look like the guys I saw in Ever Rise,
you know? Ragged Maggie with me?
No, it was the original Ragged Maggie.
So it was with Ann.
Right, yeah, it was with Ann. Yeah, that was
Incredible
years
singer.
ago. Yeah, right before you came on board with them, I saw them at Cactus Flats.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember seeing, I didn't know any of these guys. I didn't know who they were. All I know is I'd seen Ever Rise the month before. Yeah. And then I saw Jimmy and I saw John, and I was like, wait a minute. Those are the guys from Ever Rise, man. Yeah, and I think that just...
That's where I had seen both Jimmy and John. I'd seen it. I think I was at Champions.
Right.
And I'd seen it, and I was just like...
So much talent just right there with those 3 guys that were up there backing her up. And then she was a powerful singer as well.
She is, yeah.
You know?
Yes, she is.
And when I found out you were in there from Melanie, I think, told me.
Yeah.
Wow, I was like, wow, we got to go check this out. And first time we saw you guys, it just blew me away.
Oh, good.
It was incredible.
Yeah. That's what we want. That's what we want.
What we're going to do is we're going to put a link to Ragged Maggie's Facebook page so you can see where they're going to be playing next. Any other social media that you have that you want care to share?
I think that's it.
Just Ragged Maggie?
Yeah, I keep it pretty low.
Yeah.
and I'm like, I keep it. Yeah, I mean, that's usually I'll advertise, like if we're playing out. We've got 2 charities coming up. So
cool.
Yeah, we've got one for our good friend Debbie Heinzman, whose husband passed away. So we're doing that on the 23rd at Blue Ridge Sportsman. And then we have Locals Live, Pets for Vets. We're doing on April 29th with Crash the Limo in Katanga. So please come. April 29th.
We're going to put links to those events in there. The one up at Blue Ridge Sportsman Association, and then we'll put the other one over at the Frederick Moose, right?
Yes.
The Frederick Moose, and that one is Pets for Vets. And me being a veteran, I think this is a really awesome program. Yeah. It helps the veterans get through a lot of their brain injuries, PTSD. I know there's a big, huge suicide problem with a lot of the vets that came back. And so they're connecting them with rescue animals and helping them to work through some of the psychological and injuries that they're dealing with.
Yeah, it's such a win because you're everybody's heart goes out to these shelter dogs. You're like, oh, somebody give them a home. I can't take any more dogs.
Right.
And then, and then the ability to, and the effort that they put into training these dogs so that they'll be suitable companions for our veterans who just really need that extra care.
Absolutely.
Love.
Absolutely. It's always been kind of a pet project of mine is homeless vets. Yeah. There should never ever be a homeless veteran. And so that's something that I've always focused on and paid attention to. But I think this program is also a really great program for veterans.
It's U.S. Kennels, so they're going to get all the proceeds.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
And get these dogs out of shelters and onto the laps of our veterans.
And I love ending talking about things on a positive note like that. That's so cool. So Moira, I'm so glad you joined me on the porch this morning.
So much fun.
Absolutely.
I loved it. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to finish our coffee. I'm drinking black coffee today. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking black coffee too.
We're both drinking black coffee. We're getting thick in the pants today.
And I've got some gluten-free.
That's right. we made her some gluten-free goodies today.
Oh my gosh, they're so amazing.
All right. So thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend. Keep on rocking out there, all you rockers. And all the rest of you, God bless. Have a great weekend.